He thought she loved him, but her love was poison. When paramedics rushed into this quiet suburban home in Melbourne, they found 33-year-old Sam Abraham sedated, fast asleep in bed beside his son and with no means of fighting back. Sam Abraham was at the mercy of his once loving wife and her secret boyfriend. Armed with a glass of orange juice and cyanide, Melbourne mum Sofia, Sam and her lover Arun Kamalasanan put the finishing touches on an elaborate plot that ended when the deadly cocktail was poured down Abraham's throat. At first glance, it looked like natural causes. A heart attack, maybe. A sudden, tragic end to a loving husband and father. But there was something off. Something that didn't add up. Because what killed Sam Abraham wasn't fate. It wasn't chance. It wasn't even a cruel twist of destiny. It was cyanide. A death that was no accident. A murder that had been in the making for years. And a love story, more twisted than anyone could have imagined. And the person who took his life. She was right there, watching him die. This is the case of Sam Abraham. A man who trusted the wrong woman. A man who never saw his betrayal coming. Before we unravel this dark and twisted story, let me ask you, how well do you really know the person sleeping next to you? Think about that. And if you're ready to dive deep into one of the most shocking true crime cases you'll ever hear, hit that subscribe button. Like this video, share it with someone who loves true crime, and stay with me until the end. Because trust me, you won't believe what happens next. Sam Abraham was the kind of man everyone respected. Hardworking. Loving. Devoted to his family. He built a life from the ground up, moved to Melbourne with dreams bigger than himself, determined to give his wife and son a future filled with security and happiness. But love is a fragile thing, isn't it? You think you know the person sleeping next to you. You believe in the vows, the promises. Until one day, the cracks start to show. And by the time you see them, really see them, it's already too late. The truth about Sam and Sofia's marriage was buried beneath years of routine. To the world, they were perfect, soulmates who had grown up together, best friends before they were husband and wife. Their wedding was a celebration of fate, a union everyone thought would last forever. But forever is a long time. And Sofia? She had a different timeline in mind. It started small. Moments that should have meant something but felt empty. A coldness creeping into their home, slow and unnoticed. Sam dismissed it. Love changes, he told himself. Marriage settles. This is normal. But what's normal about whispers in the dark? Phone calls that ended the moment he entered the room. And the way she looked at him, not with the warmth of a wife, but something else. Something unreadable. Sam tried to ignore the unease pressing against his ribs. After all, she was his childhood love. The girl who had stood by his side through everything. If there was something wrong, surely, she'd tell him. Wouldn't she? But Sofia had learned the art of deception long ago. And as Sam focused on work, on providing, on making their life as comfortable as possible, she was planning something else. Something irreversible. A marriage built on history is not the same as a marriage built on trust. And Sam? He was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Because while he was holding on to memories, Sofia was already letting go. Arun Kamalasanan had been a shadow in Sam Abraham's life long before Sam even noticed. A familiar face. A presence that seemed harmless. But in reality, he was a storm waiting to strike. While Sam was busy working, providing, and trusting, Sofia was building a secret world with Arun. They spoke in whispers, exchanged messages that never saw the light of day. They carved out stolen moments, careful, deliberate, always staying just within the lines of plausible deniability. But desire has a way of turning patience into recklessness. And Sofia? She wasn't content with just stolen moments anymore. Arun had always been there. Waiting. Watching. Wanting. He had known Sofia for years, and unlike Sam, he saw the restlessness in her eyes. The hunger for something more. Something dangerous. He fed it. Encouraged it. And when she finally let her guard down, they both knew there was no going back. The first transfer was small, unnoticed. A bit of money moved from Sam's accounts into a new one only Sofia and Arun had access to. Then came another. And another. She was careful, taking just enough to keep it under the radar, ensuring that when the time came, they'd have everything they needed. But it wasn't just money. Late at night, when Sam was asleep, Sofia and Arun planned. Talked. Dreamed. Because for them to be together, truly together, there was one problem left to solve. Sam. At first, it was just an idea. A fantasy. The kind of dark thought that slips into the mind in the quiet hours of the night and disappears by morning. But this thought, it didn't disappear. It took root. Grew. Until one day, it wasn't just a fantasy anymore. It was a plan. A plan so simple, so foolproof, they convinced themselves it could never fail. Because who would ever suspect a devoted wife? Who would ever question a childhood love story? And most importantly, who would ever see it coming? Sam had no idea. He still believed in the illusion. The marriage. The family. He never noticed the way she pulled away, the way her touch had lost its warmth. He never saw the looks exchanged between Sofia and Arun. The electricity. The unspoken understanding between two people bound by a secret. But the truth was, Sam's fate had already been sealed. And soon, he would pay the ultimate price. For years, they hid in the shadows, passing love notes, exchanging money, whispering promises. But passion wasn't enough. If they wanted to be together, they had to remove the one thing in their way. Sam. Sofia and Arun met in secret. Parked cars. Quiet alleyways. Cheap motels. Anywhere they could be alone. Each meeting, each touch, fueling a fire that had already burned past the point of control. But love wasn't their only obsession. They talked about a future. A life without obstacles. A life without Sam. First, it was just words. Dark fantasies spoken in hushed tones. But soon, their whispers turned into a murder plot. Sofia played the role of the devoted wife perfectly. Cooking his meals, ironing his shirts, kissing him goodnight. But behind the mask was a woman with a plan. A woman who knew exactly how to kill her husband, and get away with it. The answer? Cyanide. A poison that works silently, swiftly. Undetectable in small doses. Disguised in food or drink. And Sofia had access to it. She and Arun strategized every detail. How much poison? How often? How to make it look natural? How to avoid suspicion? Every moment of Sam's routine was analyzed, dissected, turned into an opportunity. And then, the first dose. A regular dinner. A normal night. Sam ate without question, trusting the woman who sat across from him. His wife. The mother of his child. The one person he should never have had to fear. Hours later, he felt sick. Weak. His stomach churned, his head spun. He brushed it off as food poisoning, maybe a virus. He had no idea that his body was already under attack. Sofia watched him, calm, patient. She knew cyanide worked best when given in small doses over time. Slow poisoning. Just enough to make him ill, not enough to kill him, yet. She needed this to look natural. And so, she waited. Days passed. More poison. More weakness. Sam was growing sicker, but still, he didn't suspect. He trusted her completely. When he collapsed, she was the one who called for help. She held his hand in the ambulance. She cried by his hospital bed. And when doctors struggled to find the cause of his illness, she knew she was winning. But murder is never that simple. And Sofia and Arun had overlooked one crucial detail. A detail that would blow their perfect plan apart. It was late. The house was quiet. The hum of the refrigerator, the occasional creak of settling wood, small, ordinary sounds that masked the presence of an uninvited guest. Sam Abraham sat at the dining table, unaware that he wasn't alone. His wife had left for a quick grocery run, or so she said. And in the dim glow of the kitchen light, a glass of mango juice sat before him, cool, refreshing, familiar. He had no reason to suspect it held anything more. He took a sip. Then another. But something was wrong. A strange numbness crept up his arms. His vision blurred. The room around him shifted, the edges curling like a burning photograph. His chest tightened. Breathing became difficult, each gasp weaker than the last. His body slumped forward. And in the shadows, someone watched. Arun Kamalasanan had been waiting for this moment. Hidden in the house, silent as death itself. He didn't move. He didn't need to. The poison was already doing its work. Sam tried to stand, his fingers grasping at the table, knocking over the glass. His mind screamed, but his body refused to obey. His limbs betrayed him. The world around him darkened. His last conscious thought, Sofia. He needed Sofia. But Sofia wasn't coming back to save him. A few blocks away, she strolled through the aisles of a supermarket, checking her phone, making sure her alibi was airtight. She had planned this moment with precision. A perfect crime, executed flawlessly. Or so she thought. Back at the house, the poison had done its work, but there was a problem. Sam wasn't dead. His pulse was weak, but it was there. His body trembled on the floor, his breath shallow but steady. The dose should have been enough. It was supposed to be enough. But something had gone wrong. And now, Arun had a choice. Wait. Or finish what he started. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Arun stood over Sam, watching, calculating. He had come too far to fail now. Then, movement. A sharp intake of breath. A twitch of the fingers. Sam was still clinging to life. Panic flickered in Arun's eyes. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He had no weapon. No backup plan. And then, a sound. The garage door rumbled open. Footsteps on gravel. Sofia was back. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then, quickly, Arun slipped into the shadows. Out the back door. Disappearing into the night. Sofia walked in, setting down the grocery bags. The house felt still. Too still. And then, she saw him. Sam collapsed on the floor, his body twisted, his face pale. For a moment, there was silence. Then, she let out a scream. A wail so raw, so convincing, that when the neighbors rushed over, they would swear she had no idea how this had happened. But Sofia knew. And deep down, she knew the plan had just gone terribly wrong. Because Sam was still alive. And soon, the questions would begin. The night Sam Abraham was rushed to the hospital, something didn't sit right with the responding officers. A man in his 40s, seemingly healthy, collapsing out of nowhere. No history of heart disease. No history of strokes. No warning signs. And yet, there he was. Barely clinging to life. Doctors worked through the night, running tests, checking for toxins, for anything that could explain the sudden attack. And then, buried in his system, they found it. A foreign substance. Not something natural. Not something accidental. Poison. By morning, Sam was in a coma. And by morning, Sofia had already begun playing the grieving wife. Tears. Sobs. A trembling voice as she told the doctors she had no idea how this could have happened. She held Sam's hand. Whispered his name. Looked up at the nurses with red-rimmed eyes. And they believed her. Almost. But the police? They weren't so sure. They watched her. The way her sadness seemed performative. The way she never once asked what poison had been found. never once asked what could have caused it. And then, there was Arun. A man with no reason to be lurking outside the hospital that night. No reason to pace the hallway near Sam's room. No reason to show up, unless he had one. Authorities had their suspicions. But suspicions weren't enough. They needed proof. So instead of making an arrest, they made a plan. They tapped phones. They placed discreet microphones in key locations. And most importantly, they planted officers where Sofia and Arun least expected them. Neighbors. Patrons in cafes. A janitor mopping the floor just a few feet away from an intimate conversation. Sofia and Arun thought they were careful. They kept their meetings short. They whispered. They never discussed the murder directly. But arrogance is a dangerous thing. And they got sloppy. One conversation. One slip-up. That's all it took. It happened in a parking lot. A low voice. A laugh. And then, Arun's words, caught on tape. It should have worked. I mixed it myself. The dose was perfect. Silence. Then Sofia's voice. Then why isn't he dead? The undercover officer standing just a few feet away didn't react. Didn't flinch. Just listened. The trap had been set. And now, they had what they needed. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation. Journalists lined the back row, cameras poised, ready to capture every moment. The lovers, Sofia and Arun, sat side by side, their eyes avoiding the gazes of the public, their faces a mixture of defiance and fear. Their once carefully constructed lives were now crumbling, piece by piece. The evidence was overwhelming. A trail of lies, deceit, and cold calculation that had led to one tragic night. The jury watched, stone-faced, as the prosecutor laid it all out. The diary entries, filled with words of passion, yes, but also of bitterness, resentment, and a chilling resolve. Each page a testament to a plot that had been brewing for years. Bank transfer records that spoke of money changing hands between the two conspirators, money used to buy poison, to buy silence, to buy the chance to be together. And then there were the tapes. The secret recordings. Arun's voice, admitting his role in the crime. His voice so cold, so certain, as if this was just another task he had completed. I did everything we agreed on, he'd said. The dose was perfect. He should have died that night. And Sofia? Sofia had tried to deny it all, to push the blame onto Arun, but the evidence was inescapable. The way she looked at him during the trial. The way her hands trembled when the recordings were played. She couldn't deny the truth any longer. The final blow came when the forensic experts took the stand. The poison had been a rare substance, one that could only be obtained through illegal channels. No, it wasn't a mistake. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate. The lovers, once so sure of their plan, now sat in silence, their futures hanging by a thread. The judge gave his final remarks, his voice stern as he addressed the courtroom. The evidence is clear. There is no room for doubt. You both have chosen this path. You both have betrayed the trust of those around you. The crime you committed was not just one of murder, but of a life lost before it was even given a chance. And then, the verdict. Guilty. Sofia's face remained impassive, but her eyes betrayed her. There was no shock. No surprise. She had known this was coming. She had known all along that this moment would arrive. But still, she didn't flinch. Arun, on the other hand, seemed defeated. The weight of the trial, the years of planning and manipulation, had crushed him. His shoulders slumped as the guilty verdict was read aloud. They were both sentenced to life in prison, though the whispers already began. Whispers about appeals. About time served. About a chance for freedom once the dust settled. But there was something strange, something unsettling, in the way they both carried themselves. Sofia's unwavering confidence in her innocence. She still claimed it wasn't her idea. She still maintained that Arun had manipulated her, that she had been an unwilling participant in a plot she couldn't escape. "I never wanted to hurt Sam," she said in her final statement. "I loved him. But I couldn't stop him. He wouldn't let me go. It wasn't my choice. It was Arun's. But no one bought it. And Arun? He waited. For the first time since the trial began, a glimmer of hope flickered in his eyes. He knew something the rest didn't. He knew there were cracks in the system. And he would find them. His lawyers were already working on his appeal. The fight wasn't over. Not yet. And as for Sofia, her story wasn't over either. In fact, her journey was just beginning. Because behind the courtroom doors, something darker was waiting to be revealed. Something that had never been part of the public narrative. Had justice truly been served? Or were there more lies, more secrets, just waiting to emerge? One thing was for certain, this story wasn't finished. And the truth? It was still out there. What drives someone to betray the one who loves them most? Is it passion? Is it greed? Or is there something deeper, something far darker that lurks beneath the surface? When we look at Sofia and Arun, we see a twisted love story, one built on secrecy and lies, but it begs the question, what would make them go this far? Was their affair a desperate escape from a life that felt empty? Or was there something more insidious, something that they weren't telling us? After all, if they were willing to take a life for the chance to be together, how far would they go to hide the truth? The perfect crime, until it wasn't. Every move they made, every calculated step, fell apart in the end. But was it truly over? Was justice really served, or does the shadow of their actions still stretch farther than we can see? Now, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think? Was this a crime of love, of passion that went horribly wrong, or was it a cold, calculated act of evil, the kind of betrayal that can't be undone? Was it all worth it, or did their desire for a future together blind them to the consequences? Let's talk in the comments. Your opinions matter, and we'll dive deep into this discussion. This story doesn't end here. There's still so much left unanswered. What were the hidden motives behind the smiles and whispers? Who else was involved, and what secrets are still locked away? The truth is always darker than fiction. And if you want more real-life crime stories that will leave you speechless, stories that pull back the curtain on humanity's darkest corners, then don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and click that notification bell. Because the truth is, we only scratch the surface. The darkness runs much deeper. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, the truth is always waiting for you in the next one.